Hello everyone, this is Katie with Homeschooling for His Kingdom. Welcome to those of you who are new. My husband and I have been homeschooling for about 7 years now. And usually on the channel we talk a lot about homeschool ideas and whatever other topics come up that the Lord puts on my heart. We love Jesus very much, and so whenever Holy Spirit nudges me, I like to come on and just share whatever's on His heart. To those of you who watched my previous video on how to homeschool or really live through loss, thank you for all of your prayers. Many of you reached out to me telling me you were praying for us, for me and my family. Thank you so much. That means a lot. The Lord is continuing to heal us. So thank you very much for your support and your love. This video is going to be on unit studies. The Lord brought it to me when I was on a walk about 2 weeks. No, it has to be longer than that. Probably 3 or more weeks ago. Anyways, I'll kind of introduce the idea and then I'll kind of show you what I'm doing with it, and hopefully get some of your feedback for those of you who already do unit studies. But for some new homeschool mamas, what is a unit study? For me, it's when you take a topic and you teach all of your children this topic together, but you have the application be at different levels. So we have a 6th grader, a 4th grader, and a kindergartner this year. And so what I noticed, well, let me just finish this thought. First of all, are unit studies required? Absolutely not. You can teach your children however you feel the Lord is leading you to, or however you feel is the right way to teach them at home. Of course, as long as you're following the guidelines of the state. I think they have like basic, for all the states we've lived in as we've homeschooled, they usually always list the basic subjects like language, math, reading, science, history, things like that. So however you want to get that in is totally fine. And I guess the basis, I have notes, that's why I keep looking down. But let me put my notes down for a second. The basis for why I've switched a little bit to unit studies is we usually use a Beka. And if you guys have been following along for a while, you know I talk about it a lot, I like it, and I still do. But what brought me to unit studies with the Holy Spirit was I noticed with science and history specifically, Zechariah and Taylor, my 6th and 4th grader, were not really enjoying what they were learning, and teaching them for so many grades. I see how Beka does an amazing job of cycling around on every topic. Like they'll do U.S. history, then they'll do world history, U.S. history, world history, back and forth through the elementary grades, and each grade kind of builds a little more, but it's quite repetitive also. And I thought, they don't seem to really enjoy the reading. They're not really getting excited. And then when Taylor, I think it was a science quiz, she pretty much bombed it. I was like, oh no, we're doing something wrong here. She's not retaining the information. And maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not teaching it very excitedly. But at the pace that Beka goes, it's difficult sometimes to get all the information, like the different charts or extras that you'd want to grab for every lesson, because it goes so quickly with the Beka. So I prayed about it. I said, God, what is going on? Why aren't my kids really enjoying science and history? What can I do? How can I help them? Can we change something? And I was on a walk. I still remember, it's just like this download started coming, like rapid fire, idea after idea. And so what I feel like the Lord was showing me, which is what I want to share with you guys today, is for some of your subjects, do a unit study. Not all of them, maybe. Certain ones are harder than others to do unit studies on. For instance, math, I'm still going to teach like normal, every grade at its own level. Reading, same thing, every grade at its own level. Language as well, because kids learn to write, in the smaller grades, they don't write as much as like big book reports or things like that in 5th and 6th grade. So I'm going to keep the basics, reading, writing, arithmetic, if you will, at grade level. But the Lord showed me how I could take history and science or other ideas like that, slow it way down in the sense of not rapid fire. We don't need to teach the same 50 topics every year and keep going really quickly through them. Let's pick like 20 of them, and every year really almost like full immersion for 2 or 3 weeks, just really focus on that subject. So that's what the Holy Spirit gave me. He basically The idea was take their science and history books of everything they were supposed to learn this year, or what you've seen them learn, you know, in other years as well, and make a list. So I made a list of ideas that I think would still be wise for us to cover. And it's already a month or two in, right? About 2 months into the school year. So we've already covered a lot. So that aside, what else can we cover this year? And then I sat the kids down with me too, and we just kind of brainstormed. We came up with a lot of fun ideas like volcanoes, Pangea, dinosaurs, the lost city of Atlantis. They want to research these topics. They want to look into them. And I'm fine with it as long as it's something that would be constructive and something I can pull the Bible into as much as possible. I'm in. So I wanted to bump it up against my mom and dad, for one, because they homeschooled my sister, myself, and my brother. And I got a hold of Dad, and he said, yeah, that sounds right. It sounds good. You probably need 2 or 3 weeks on each subject. And he's right. So far we've done a unit study on dinosaurs, which was awesome. We learned so much. At first I was a little leery to do dinosaurs too, because I don't know, they seem so ferocious, and is it necessary to study what would be extinct today, right? But it's history, right? And my son, Zachariah, was very humbling. He said, Mom, they're in the Bible, right? And I thought, no, I think you have a point there. So I researched it. Yeah, the behemoth and the Leviathan are both in the book of Job. And I want to say the Leviathan is also in the book of Psalms. So we started there. Basically, we started in the Bible. We read the description of the dinosaurs. There was a swimming one and a land one. And then we went from there. So I learned a lot. And what I'm going to do is just kind of show you how I put together the unit study. And then if you guys have any ideas or tips, please put them in the comments, because I'm assuming quite a few of you guys already do unit studies. I just haven't, because Beka is pretty structured, and it has a class for every subject every day for every student. So that's just how I've been doing it. But this has opened up a whole new world for us. I'm having a lot more fun teaching with it also. I'm learning a lot more. And before I begin on showing you guys how I put together a unit study, I just wanted to add this. What I have found, because we're already into our second unit study, which is going to be like colonial America, where we came from as Americans, something like that, and then bring it all the way in. I'm going to do geography as well. We've already started a little bit this last week, you know, practicing north, south, east, and west, directions, states, capitals, things like that. Make sure, we already know the Pledge of Allegiance, but make sure, you know, just touch on all the big stuff if I can in 3 weeks or so until Thanksgiving. So it's really fun. So the dinosaur unit study took about 2 weeks. I'm thinking this one will probably take about 3 weeks or more. And we're going to try to finish right in the week of Thanksgiving. So, so this is how I've been doing it for the last 2 unit studies, and it's working so far. Okay, so after we pulled together a list, so you might want to talk to your kiddos about a list, talk to your husband, pray about it, pull together a list. I have about maybe 7 or 8 topics for history and 7 or 8 topics for science, and some of them are interchangeable, because dinosaurs almost is kind of science and history, because you're studying like how their body would be fossilized. Well, there's a lot of scientific stuff that goes into that, and yet you're studying an extinct creature, which is technically history. So some of them can be blended, right? But once you get your list together, kind of decide how many weeks you think it'll take you to get done with that topic, and that way you're setting yourself up for success. So you don't try to do 100 and then only have time for 50. Or you can just save it for the next year too, you know, so however you want to do it. But it saves, what I really like about it is that I've noticed it saves time, because I'm getting one idea ready for all the kids. Even Julia, the youngest one, the kindergartner, is joining in on it. And then, so I'm not having to teach the Pilgrims to my 4th grader, teach it to my 6th grader separately, and then find a little kitty craft or something for my kindergartner. No, like I'm teaching it one time, and all 3 are participating. And that's my next thought, is it really, for homeschoolers, you want to make sure they pick up on social skills and things, and they can do that everywhere you go, at the grocery store, at church, whatever, at the park. But what I like about it too is in a setting of the classroom, it teaches them to take turns, have manners, raise their hand, don't speak until I call on them, stuff like that, since they're all listening and I'm teaching all of them. So if you're listening and you only have one student, I thought about that. I'm sorry. You'll just get more one-on-one time with your child. But maybe you could encourage some neighbor friends to come over and you could do the unit study together, or another homeschool mom. Maybe you could tag team it. You know, you could say, hey, I'll do these topics and you can do these topics, and we'll just come over on like every Tuesday or whatever. Maybe something like that could work out if you only have one child. But also what I love is that it's allowing us to get out to do like field trips or museum. We can come for a museum day. What we did was, when we were done with the dinosaur study, when I was finished teaching everything, we went to the museum as like the last day of it. And we were able to touch and feel, you know, we could see the dinosaurs. They had some like animatronic stuff where they would actually like move when you like walk by. And if any of you guys are in Florida, I'll put it down in the comments. I think it was in Plant City. I think it was just called Dinosaur World. But if you're in the area, it was an awesome dinosaur museum to go to. You could do gem mining. They had fossil digging, and it was pretty reasonably priced. So anyways, and so what I'm going to do for the well, I don't want to call it the Pilgrim study, but the Early America study, is I found a museum in St. Augustine that's about an hour away, that has a really like First America kind of take on a lot of things. I called the museum assistant, and she said there's a lot of, or I think I called her. No, I called the local one here, and she didn't have a lot where we live in Yulee. And so when I looked online, in St. Augustine, they had quite a bit more, which would be more fitting for what I'm looking for. So we can see exhibits related to early America and stuff like that. So, okay, let me just kind of walk you through quickly a unit study. So we have the list now. So you have the list of what you want to do, what your kids want to do. So I cover it in prayer. Usually I love the Lord very much. And so I like to walk with him through stuff, not ahead or behind. So he usually gives me lots of tips and advice before I get started on them. And then I refine the detail by talking to each kid. Okay, so for instance, okay, Zach, you wanted to learn about dinosaurs. What specifically did you want to learn about them? You know, and then I'll take notes really quick. So then it kind of, because there's a lot of dinosaurs, right? And so, and I'd ask Taylor too, and Julia. So then I get like detail on what they're really interested in the topic. Then we go to the library and we look up all kind of books on those specific parts of what they're looking for. And then if the library doesn't have it, you can always Google, of course. You know, a lot of different sites have information, so you can print things out and add to your teaching time. I'll also print out like coloring pages or crafts, like for instance, or you can order ahead too. Like I've just got some, of course these are really easy. These are like at dollar store or something like that. Some Thanksgiving crafts. I have another one, like a Thanksgiving wheel, where you write what you're thankful for on the back, and then it like spins around, you know, stuff like that. So like after you teach like for 15, 20, 30 minutes, then you can have the little ones do the craft, or just, you know, afterward they can do the craft. Also what I've been finding is a lot of word searches, a lot of crossword puzzles or things like that too, that you can engage the kiddos. For instance, I found one on the continents because I wanted to review some geography too. Continent word search. So, you know, just a quick review on all the continents and oceans and something extra. Because I don't want them to just listen. I want them to like have something to work with, write it down, see how things are spelled. So as you're searching or preparing, kind of look for extras that they can feel and touch. And then look for a museum or somewhere you can actually hands-on go see or do what it is you're looking at. Then after the museum from the dinosaur, I came home and I wrote up a test and an essay. And it was fun. I made sure as I taught too for the couple of weeks, I would write down in a notebook. I would say things like, okay, Pangea, or I guess that's for this unit study. Okay, fossil, and we would name the definition of a fossil. And so I would say, this probably will show up on a test, pay attention. And so that causes them to pull out their notebooks as well and write things down that mom's saying so they don't forget. But I would talk about fossils almost every other day in the unit study, reminding them what it is. So when they saw it on the test, it was like no-brainer, like they got it right away. because I still want them to be able to take tests and things like that. So, but knowing what we went over, I had to design the test myself because I taught the material. I want to make sure it was tested properly. Then I also had an essay, like describing your favorite dinosaur or something like that. And then what did you learn at the museum that you didn't know before you went? Things like that. And then I think at the end I said, draw and color your favorite dinosaur or something like that, just to encourage their artistic side too. Also, I would highly recommend, since you're kind of going out on your own here and creating your own material and things like that, just take notes. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping like a daily, I'm doing this now with the colonial one because I'm still kind of refining it. But basically I just printed out a November calendar, and then like for the first week we're going to review like the 50 states, the continents, the oceans. We're going to talk about Pangea, how the world used to be one big continent, and then we're going to try to finish that first week bringing it down to America. Like, okay, and then so and so discovered America on such and such a date, things like that. And then the second week we're going to dive more into some of the colonial books that we've gotten and so on. So I've kind of like put like a vague idea of what I want to do every week during the unit study, but of course, you know, you can be flexible with this too as things come up, or somebody gets sick, or you just want to spend a lot more time on this book. Of course, be flexible with yourself. But I think keeping it, this is in addition to my lesson. Like, I think I had a video out where I put the lessons that we do. So over here, this is my record of attendance on the regular November calendar, because of course we did math and so on with this lesson and so on. So this is separate from this. This is just for science and history. An extra thing I'm doing. And then I have a file of like all the coloring pages, the tests they took, things like that. I would put a date range on your file, and I'm going to keep a file for every unit study. Like the one we just finished is called Dinosaurs, and I wrote down the dates that we, like the beginning date we started and the end date, like the very last day that they took their test on. And then I put everything, like even like receipts or tickets from the museum, like stapled them all, kind of like proof we were here. You know, I don't know, in case, you know, we're ever audited. I'm not afraid of that or anything, but I just love to take good notes anyway. And so this, instead of going along the lesson plans for history and science, I have proof now. This is what we did on this day. And I also am writing down all the library books, titles and authors on a sheet that I keep. And then I'll just slide that into the folder whenever we're done with each unit study. So kind of a little trail. So anyways, the kids and I are loving it. We're learning so much. Even my husband's loving it. He's learning. He's coming with us to the museums and stuff like that. So I hope this kind of encourages you and gives you a little, maybe a little kickstart if you haven't tried a unit study. I never really had, and they're a lot easier than I thought. And another quick tip is, if you know of a teacher, like my sister's a teacher in the public school up in Michigan, I call her a lot for different ideas or advice, and she sent me a couple colonial books for this unit study, some ideas. But also call the museum people or talk to the librarians, because they're really helpful. And when I called to the Dinosaur Museum, the lady gave me like a whole teacher's like PDF file, if you will. It had crossword puzzles, it had word searches for dinosaurs, it had information more. Some of the terms we'd already learned in the other dinosaur books, but it also had like a little blip on their specific museum. So what we would see there and what we can do there. So then we were really ready when we got there. Also, if we were in that county, it was about 3 hours south of here. It was a long trip. So we were not in the same county, but she said, hey, if you are a teacher in this county, I can give you a discount. And I was like, no, we're not in that county, but make sure to ask for teachers discounts or student discounts, because some places will have them for us. So anyway, I wanted to mention, if you want to do a dinosaur unit study, I have so much information on it. So what I can do is I'm going to just put like, I'll put my email in the comments, and I can email you like the Word document of the test and the essay I set up, and then the PDF that the librarian, or excuse me, the museum person gave to me. I can email all that to you if you guys wanted to do a unit study on that. But anyways, if you guys listening have also done unit studies, I wanted to ask you if you could put in the comments or give everybody another idea if I've missed something, because I'm really new at it, and I would love new tips as well, because you know, we're still, this is I'm still working through some of the details, but so far so good. And this is a US bingo that we picked up. I wanted to show you guys. I think at the Goodwill, or my parents got it for us. But whenever you're out and about, if you think of other like tangible things to encourage your kiddos, or just to, that way it's not always reading in the book. I like to include that. I also have like state flashcards with capitals and stuff like that, and kind of encourages competition if you have more than one student. And then I wanted to show you guys this too before I go. This is swimming creatures. This is from Apologia. And then this is flying creatures. So these I am aware of actually do have unit studies built in. I believe it's for elementary, probably more like 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade levels, but they do come with notebooks, and I can put that in the link, or excuse me, the comments below. If you like the idea of a unit study, but you're just not sure you want to make one yourself, they actually have a really good program, and I think I learned about this through one of the co-ops back in California. But I did want to mention that I am aware that this, and it is from a Christian perspective, this particular curriculum already has unit studies built in. So if that helps any of you, then awesome. But I hope that you are inspired to try a unit study yourself. We are loving it, and I appreciate any of your advice or thoughts about them as we keep going with them. But I hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you later.